Once upon a time I played Elden Ring, and the rest is history. Now, just like any other person, I am eagerly waiting for the DLC to come out, and since I feel like 7 trucks rolled over me cause I got sick, I decided to do something fun and create a boss. Unfortunately, I don't know how to 3D model or code, so we're gonna stick to concept art. Now, how does one even begin to design a boss for Elden Ring? Why don't we just have a look at the most popular ones? On number 1, we got Big Angry Guy with no legs sitting on his best friend, the horse. Then there's the Destroyer of Noobs, the homeless guy with a stick, aka Margit. I don't think I have to say anything to this one. Moving on to this abomination and many more. As you can see, the creativity here is pretty much limitless. So how about we just pick a couple of references and start by figuring out what we actually want to do. Should this boss have human features? A giant maybe? Or how about an animal? An insect? A dragon? A dragon with 2 heads. I think you get my point. And so after an eternity of thinking and my body feeling like it's gonna fall apart any minute, I finally tried myself on the first concept. The only thing that I kept in the back of my head is to make sure the creature fits the general design of Soulsborne games, which is mostly dark fantasy with a grotesque twist to it. And since Elden Ring features a lot of dragons, I thought why not implement some of that into my design. Another thing that makes Soulsborne games so special is their convoluted lore. So instead of just making a badass looking boss, I also want to give it somewhat of a backstory that connects to its design. And after all that, all I can say is that I really like the first design. Nonetheless, I want to try out and see if I can come up with anything else before adding details. And as soon as I'm done with the concepts, I'm gonna explain what I had in mind when creating them. Alright, so I only managed to make one more concept before inevitably falling to the floor and sleeping for half an hour. Now, I like the first concept more than the second one. The second one is something you'd probably find in Bloodborne rather than Elden Ring. And the entire construct just doesn't make any sense to begin with. So, about the first one. When I randomly woke up today at 5 AM because I couldn't sleep and had non-stop thoughts shooting up in my brain like they came straight out of an AK-47, I was thinking about the design and the lore behind it and decided to change a few things. So instead of making this a 2-headed dragon, I'd like it to be one dragon / creature with a rider. Now, I was researching various types of dragons and mythological creatures for reference, and I feel like the worm comes fairly close to what I'm envisioning. Another thing that is very important about the design is its practicality. Meaning, is it possible to give this boss a viable moveset? Which is exactly what I'm going to focus on now, and while I do that, I think it's the perfect time to tell the lore behind everything. To keep it simple, since I'm no Elden Ring lore expert, we have 2 brothers. One a ferocious warrior, a berserker on the battlefield, and the other an expert in sorcery and necromancy. Nothing has ever stood between them except one day when sickness befell the warrior. The mage has fallen into despair. His brother was dying in his hands, but he was denied such mercy. On his journey as an apprentice, he has explored many domains of this world until he stumbled upon a witch that was able to give him everything he ever wanted. Young and naive as he was, power was his obsession. Her words were like the song of a siren, and she offered him a deal she knew he would never refuse. Immortality. He was finally able to stand at the front with his brother, but what he thought was pure might was a delusion in the warrior's eyes. The mage has forgotten the value his existence holds, and has lost 1,000 lives. Though unknown to him each time he died, only a part of him came back. His soul has faded and he became nothing but a mere corpse walking the earth. He has lost everything but the love for his brother. And as he was holding him, he realized that blessing turned out to be a curse. The witch was nowhere to be found, and he wasn't ready to live an eternity in solitude. So he decided to seek upon a creature that will live long enough to see the end of time. He sealed his brother's soul inside of it so they can now stand in battle together once again. Now it's time to properly sketch out the rider, and for that I'm simply going to use myself as a reference. I'm not quite sure yet what type of clothing or armor to give him, so I'll just try out a few things and see what works. Alright, it's the next day. I look and I feel terrible. Nonetheless, we're gonna render the whole thing today. I didn't really finish the design of the rider yesterday, so I'm gonna quickly do that. And yeah, no. And then we can move on to coloring the piece. Now before we get to rendering, I do want to clean up a little because I scribbled like a kid that just discovered their first pack of crayons. And right away I want to make clear that as always I'm not aiming to make an illustration, but a draft that showcases or that brings the idea in my head to life. So now that everything is set, we can get to coloring the entire thing. As you can see, I composed the whole thing via the rule of thirds and tried to add depth through the dragon's body. So to further attract the viewer towards the rider and the dragon's head, I'll use an intense blue for the sword since it's a cast spell rather than a physical object. And as I was rendering, I had another idea to make the boss look a bit more special. I didn't like the way the eyes looked on the dragon, so I decided to give him a blindfold, though it or he is still able to see through the brother's eyes or simply smell its prey. And so slowly but steady the whole thing started to get its form, but unfortunately I'm struggling a lot to establish the values properly, which is why this piece is currently looking like a mess. On the next day I looked through some of my art books, mainly the Dark Souls one, and tried to understand how the concept artist delivered such stunning visuals, even though a lot of the segments only consist of a few brush strokes. And after observing for a few minutes, I went back to my work and tried to correct all the mistakes. I kept a reference of an ancient wyvern next to me, because I feel like the majority of the work that I've done came from my imagination, so I think a reference would really help out. So I went over it once again, gave a plain background, and for the first time tried using different brushes for texture and blending. And I have to say, they really made a difference. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think that... What the well... And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think... What the hell is that? Why would you do that? What the are you doing? What the I am doing? Man, you know, I could ask you the very same thing. Man, not today, please. I'm finishing the video. You got a problem with that? Jimmy, what the We both know you can't make a video without me. And you don't gotta pee in every single one of my videos, okay? I'm sick and I can't do this anymore. Jimmy, who? What do you mean who? Me, man. I'm sick. Jimmy, no. Who asked? You did not just do that. Alright, you listen to me now, cause you're a bit stupid. Jimmy, every good boss in Elden Ring has a second face. You cannot tell me you're making a boss for Elden Ring and not give it a second face. You know what? I'm done. I'll let you do it. Jimmy, I probably never told you, but you disappoint me. Yeah, of course. Our father has been working since we're 6 years old, and he's still not back for it. That is not what happened. You know what? Okay, I'll do it. But please, for the love of God, leave me alone. That's the spirit. Man, I'm proud of you, you know? I've noticed you're becoming a lot like me. That ain't something I'm proud of. Well, either way, for the first time, I do not have to take over your imbecile brain. You can do it by yourself. And that being said, I'ma leave you to it then. Alright, so we're gonna do what this guy said, but I'll keep it short. So similar to the fight with the Nameless King in Dark Souls 3, after defeating the Worm, aka the brother, the mage goes cuckoo, applies gravity magic to his brother's big sword, and voila, have fun fighting this doubled sword maniac. Of course, lore-wise, to make this fight work, you'd have to kill the witch to break the curse. Otherwise, just like I believe in Dark Souls 1, when you meet that white dragon, I think Seath is his name, early, he just heal whatever damage you'll deal to him. Man, I feel like such a nerd in this video. Once again, I will use myself as a reference, and unlike in the first concept, I'll try to give him a bit more detail in his face. And so besides the fact that making this video cost the energy off my soul, I had a lot of fun creating it. I legitimately want to fight this boss. Therefore, I think I did a pretty good job. I won't color the second face because it would probably kill me at this point. But once again, here you can see the design of a boss that might fit into Elden Ring. And with that being said, I hope you guys had a great start into the year. As you can see, mine was peachy. I had mold growing all over my wall, which is why I had to remove my precious LED lights. But yeah, enough of the rant. I hope you enjoyed this video. Truly thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.